Hey guys, it's John from Physical Living, and in this video I'm going to discuss an often overlooked but very important aspect of joint mobility training that you need to be able to do, and you need to incorporate into your routine even if certain experts or programs don't address it. And that is, it's very important to be able to move all of your body's joints, your wrists, your elbows, your shoulders, all of your body's joints through their full range of motion in an isolated manner. You know, being able to move just your wrist and just your neck and just your shoulders without compensating for a lack of mobility by moving other adjacent joints. Because what will happen is that if you've got, let's say a really immobile shoulder, for instance, which is very common today. A lot of people have just horrible shoulder mobility. They can't reach their arms overhead, their shoulders are slumped forward, and so they have a lack of mobility. They can't move their shoulders through a full range of motion. What happens when you have this lack of mobility at your shoulder joint, which happens to be one of the most mobile joints in your body, or is supposed to be, is that the other adjacent joints, like your elbows, like your thoracic spine, like your neck, which are all very close to your shoulders, they have to take up the slack because the shoulders aren't functioning the way they were supposed to, so these other joints have to compensate. And that leads to problems down the road because then you have your other joints taking up the extra load of the work, and they're having to work in a suboptimal or unnatural way. And so you need to be able to, in order to prevent this, you need to be able to move all of your body's joints through their full range of motion. Flexion, extension, lateral deviation, circles. Every joint has different degrees of movement and ranges of motion that you can hit, like your neck. You can glide forward and back and side to side. You can tilt side to side, tilt forward and backwards. You can twist. And all these different ranges of motion you need to be able to achieve in an isolated manner. So, while I'm in favor of any joint mobility training, if you only got 3 minutes during your warm-up that you're willing to devote to it, anything is better than nothing. But for those of us who are doing this for the long term and really want to reap the maximum benefits from our training and master the domain, I guess, of joint mobility training, you need to incorporate at some level the ability to move each and every joint through its full range of motion without compensating for it with other joints. And so if you build off on that foundation, eventually you can do some of these more sophisticated mobility drills that are more integrative in manner. But if you only do those, more sophisticated joint mobility drills that you sometimes see people do, and you don't have that ability to move each and every joint through its full range of motion in and of itself, then you're going to be compensating somewhere. And so you want to make sure that you train every joint, all of the basic ranges of each joint in an isolated manner, at least and until you can perform all the basic ranges through a full range of motion, preferably smoothly, without pain. And you should continue some of your training in these most basic ranges in the future, even after you've mastered joint mobility training. I don't know if I've mastered joint mobility training, but I've been practicing it diligently pretty much daily for the last over 10 years now, and I still refer back to the most basics. Shoulder circles are great, and for someone who's, I sit behind a desk more than I should, it's really critical that you get that basic range of motion mastered. Then you move on to something a little bit more sophisticated, and then you move up from there, and then you get into more sophisticated drills, and they keep building and building. But you gotta form your foundation with the basics and be able to articulate each and every joint from the top of your head down to your feet through its full range of motion. And if you don't, you're gonna be compensating, and that usually leads to problems down the road. So I just wanted to throw out that thought for you. And if you're looking for a program to follow, I've used most of, well, I won't say that, I haven't used most of the recent ones. But I've used a lot of programs over the years in joint mobility training, and I think that some of the best ones are by Scott Sonnen, Intaflow, Ageless Mobility, Recuperate, and he's got some others that are borderline mobility programs, but also incorporate other elements of training. So feel free to check those out if you want good, solid programs that are systemic, comprehensive, and will provide great results. And otherwise, just make sure that whatever joint mobility training you're doing, that it trains all of the joints through their full ranges of motion, and not just the basics of flexion extension, but also those lateral movements and the rotations, because all of our joints have a unique degree of movement freedom, and you want to make sure you're training all of those so you don't have a deficiency or a problem that will rear its ugly head down the road if you ignore it. So thank you for your time. Hope this video was helpful. Hope it got you asking some questions and evaluating your routine. If it was helpful, please give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down to give me that feedback I need. And thank you very much for your time. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.